Hello everyone, welcome back. It is a rainy Sunday morning and we are under a winter storm warning. Potential for some snow tonight through tomorrow. But today's video is not about the weather, it's about tillage equipment. And since we're into the season of tillage, I'm going to talk to you a little bit about the different tools that we use. Now, keep in mind there's different ways of doing tillage. There's different methods, and a lot of times those depends upon the crops you're growing and the type of soil you're dealing with. Also, the types of tillage or the equipment you're using can depend upon the size of your operation. So, with that being said, we're going to talk a little bit about the way we do it, the equipment we use, and why. Okay, so our first step in our tillage is the moorboard plowing. And what the moorboard plowing does, I'll put some links to some videos of moorboard plowing either in the description or in the comments below in this video. But what it does is it cuts the soil to a certain depth and turns it over. So if you're plowing at an 8-inch depth, it's bringing that up, putting what's on top down. And when it does that, it creates a larger chunks of soil, if you will. And the goal of tillage is seed bed preparation. So once we get that turned over, then we've got to start reducing those chunks of soil down to smaller particles to make a good seed bed. Now, in our seed beds, what we want is smaller soil particles, and that soil to be loose to a depth, a desired depth, typically 4 to 8 inches deep, because that's where the root zone of most of the plants we're growing is. And we want that loose so the roots can prosper, pick up nutrients, etc., etc., etc. So, once we get it turned, or moorboard plowed, then we use this implement. And what this is just a 3-point hitch. I think it's a Tough Line brand disc harrow, or a disc, or whatever you want to call it. Thing about farm equipment, there's 1,000 different names for every piece of equipment, but we just call it a disc, and that's what we use. Now, the purpose of this piece of equipment is to cut those larger chunks of soil down to smaller particles. Keep in mind that if you're in a real sandy soil, we don't have to use this implement as much. If we're in a heavier clay soil, we may have to use it more to cut that soil down more. So, the key to tillage is using the equipment for what it's designed for in the right sequence and in the right way. So what we'll do, we'll go in on a piece of moorboard plowed ground, and we will set the gangs of disc, and I don't know, you can see how they're pretty straight. Okay, and this one also is pretty straight. Our first pass over that, after moorboard plowing, we'll run those pretty straight, and we don't run them all that deep. What we're trying to do is where that field is up and down, is just to kind of smooth it up a little bit. And we'll make a pass over that and knock it down. Now, once we get that pass done, what we'll do is right here, we will make an adjustment on both gangs. And the gang is what I'm referring to as these. That's the gang. What we'll do is pull this pin right here. And well, let's just do it. we'll pull this pin, and let me get you guys mounted up here somewhere where you can watch. And we will just slide that forward. Now if you look at the gang, you see how much farther they are forward, and you can see how much it pitches the disc. And what that does is makes it cut more. In other words, it's cutting harder, and we'll do the same for the front. And depending on the soil, the conditions, what we're dealing with, we'll make 1 or 2 passes with that to cut those chunks down. Now, once we get those chunks cut down, the issue with this tool, and once again, tillage is not a one-tool operation. Not for us. Now, on some larger operations, they have tools that does multiple functions at one pass. Not for us. So what we'll do once we get that cut up, then we'll set the disc back straight and smooth it. Now, the issue with the disc is that it has a tendency to compact the soil. It's not if you run over it enough with the disc, you will compact it back to a point that you're losing some benefits in your seed bed. So at that point, the disking is step 2. At that point, what we'll do is either take the multi-purpose plow, or the field cultivator, or the 9-shank, or the ripper, whatever you want to call it, and we will break that compaction back up with a log behind it to smooth it back down. Or we may use a rototiller in some instances, depending on soil type. My point of this video is to explain to you the tools we use, why we use them, when we use them, how we use them, and the reason that we have to use multiple tools, tillage equipment, to get the seed bed to a point that it'll produce the crop that we're after. Now, in our area, in our soils, and in our crop production system, there is no substitute for moldboard plowing. It is a step that if you leave out, your yields, your crops, the whole bit will pay dearly in our system, in our soils, and in our crops. Now, there's other soils, there's other systems, and there's other crops that you may be able to get by with it. But this is just, I can only speak for what we do and how we do it. But that's the purpose of the disc car. We will get some videos of the multiple steps that we use. Typically, on average, we'll go over 3 passes with the disc. Now, in the sod ground that we plowed this year, it may take 4 or 5. In a sandy bottom that we have tilled in the past, it may just take 1 to get it knocked down to work. So, but on average, we're looking at about 3 passes. That's the purpose of the disc, the disc car, excuse me, and what it does, the function that it serves. So, does a really good job for what it's designed, if used properly and used in the right time. Another thing too, the way these things designed, they just roll. So the faster you run up to a point, the better job it'll do of cutting and reducing the soil particle size down. And so our first pass over that rough ground, we run pretty slow, and that's one reason we try to do that, to smooth it up, so we can increase speed when we increase the cut, and it'll do a pretty good job. But that's a little bit about the disc. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you learned something. If you like what we do, subscribe to us. If there's a video you like, please hit the like button. Comment, ask questions, tell us what you think. Until next time, hopefully we'll survive this huge snowstorm. We'll talk to you guys later. Bye.